out-of-the-box thinking. This is not in the monetary box. And many people just cannot appreciate the level of indoctrination that we have all received. And in order to get out of this box, we've got to have this awareness. So we're in the awareness phase first, and then we have to, then the next is, well, they inferred in this movement, the next thing is the basically kind of standoff and non-violence protesting of the masses, the millions, against the 1%, really.
So on Rachel's question, like we have the chapters all over, and each chapter, they can choose what they want to do. Like for instance, New York chapter, during 9/11, they went down to where they was having the 9/11 thing. They was talking to people, being engaged, and so each chapter does different things depending on the location, or what's going on. If depending on movies, like me personally, when Capitalism: A Love Story came out, I went there, I was giving out flyers and stuff like that. So there's little things of action that each chapter, different people can do on their own. That doesn't have to fall under, an official thing from Peter Joseph or anyone else. He's not a leader. He's just, giving us a direction. It's up to us, to take that and then move on with it, not just waiting for somebody else to say, okay, we should do this and we should do that. If that's the case, we should just stay.
There are no leaders in this movement. What we do is we get together as groups. The New Jersey chapter decides what we have to do within this, as Moses was pointing out. Within our environment, it's a lot different from the New York City environment or the Philadelphia environment, and those are other chapters. And we do something our way, and they have to do it their way according to their environment. So, but there are no leaders. There's nobody really telling us what to do or how to do it. We get together, we talk about what we might do, and then of course there's the action of actually doing it, because of course, if I decide to go to a 4-day festival, I've got to pull together all the equipment that is required for that festival, and then these guys help out wherever they can, and then when Dave decides to put together something involved in the Rutgers, he puts it all together, and we come and we help as much as we can. And so these are the sort of actions that we're, and it's all about spreading awareness right now.
Right. So the hope is that this space will just create kind of a critical mass awareness, so as many people as possible are familiar with this model, to the point where they have a place to put their nausea.
It's true, right? You see, I believe in thinking globally and acting locally. There's all sorts of ways we can act. I mean, what you do here at Rutgers will be great. I live in a rural environment. I'm doing something very different with that subchapter that I've got going there. And it's going to be very different from these guys who live in a more city environment. It's going to be a different kind of approach. Yeah.
We use the internet a lot. We have a website, tcmnj.com.
This wouldn't be possible without the internet. Before the internet, this kind of information just wasn't available. And really, we have to protect the internet to make sure that it stays available.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I was wondering if you guys had any comments on the whole FCC situation, regulation, out for instance, getting out there making a lot of noise about it and so forth.
And the Comcast merger also
that
used to be addressed.
Yeah, just happened, Comcast and Universal. So, any thoughts and feelings about that situation?
Well, they talked about the collapse, right? The collapse of civilization and society. Basically, it's going to get worse as we progress. It's a natural trend that is happening now. This is just one aspect of it. Of course, you do what you can. You sign the petitions. You get out there. You do what you can, but you've got to accept the fact that the model and the system is collapsing, and you've got to really look at the solution. We're really a solution-oriented organization that is accepting the collapse. And it's the monetary system, when people understand that it's the socio-economic system itself that is generating the collapse, and not these these little things that were mentioned in the film. People don't realize that it's just the underlying fabric that is creating the collapse. And so we accept this, and we're looking at the solution. That's all we can do.
The solutions aren't really that extreme. You know, if we look back on society, how did the Native Americans live? You know, as egalitarians, they lived in accordance to how there's a balance in nature, and there's no reason we can't go back to that and still have the technology we have today. So, I mean, if you think about it, this is just basically making the world open source. Today, people spend their weekend, you know, their weekday nights after work, working on programs for free to give out to the world. That's open source technology. People are creating open source energy projects, open source, you know, operating systems, etc. People do community service for free. So the entire incentive system that we were taught to accept, you know, it's not exactly the best way to go about things if they're going to result in, you know, what we can foresee. So, sir, you had a comment or a question?
Yeah, my only question about the Venus Project is, I mean, it describes eliminating all these causes of you know, human death and stuff like that, And my only question is, what happens to the population? I mean, there has to be an equilibrium between how many people are being born, how much resources can be supplied to that many people, and how many people are dying. And I'm asking because I'm not criticizing, I'm asking because maybe you guys can give an explanation for that. But do you understand what I'm trying to say?
The education tends to decrease the population, first of all. Educated people do not have 10 children. You know, they tend to have fewer children, first of all. Also, if we're in a state of collapse, as we are, World War III could be a possibility. I mean, that would eliminate a lot of the population. But the other thing that he only really mentions as a like, oh, by the way, this resource-based economy is going to create access abundance. Do you know what that means? That means the monetary system really creates scarcity. So the population is dealing with scarcity. All right. So in access abundance, that means that the population will have access to abundance that the scarcity, the monetary system right now keeps from them. So even if whatever population we have, whether it gets smaller, remains the same, gets larger, they will have the abundance, or the resource-based environment will create sort of abundance that people will have access to, however many people we have.
The other thing that I think should be addressed is that as far as population is concerned, most people have this model in their heads of the human population kind of almost looking like a population of like rabbits in a field. That if we keep on growing, and we run out of resources that naturally grow in that field, that there'll be too many people. The major difference there is that we have the technology and the resources to change our environment, to make it more productive. So if we have 8 billion people on the planet, we can provide for it. We can change our environment to do that. And we can continue doing that really to a large degree. And of course, as you said, education, I'm educated. I'm not going to have 10 kids. You know, I know I'm going to just basically replace me and my wife.
I have to, all right, I'm working on a video that's going to be comprised of slides that a man named Douglas Millett put together. He's a systems engineer, works in the space shuttle program. And according to my calculations based on that, he put together a scenario of a city system like we saw here. Now, these city systems are designed from the ground up to be self-sustaining. That means the food and everything is made right there. Okay. So, if you had a city system that was 5-mile diameter, okay, supporting anywhere from 1.5 to 3 million people, and taking into account, I did the calculations like this: you take 25% of the land mass of the United States, including bodies of water, and only put cities in 25% of land mass, we could have 8,128 cities, which would allow 12 billion people to live in the continental United States and, Alaska,
Right.
also.
But what you've also got to take into account is for each city that you build, that's eliminating a certain amount of resources.
Correct.
So at some point there has to be a give and
But I'm
shove.
saying theoretically.
No, yeah, I
To
understand.
answer your question is, when they keep saying education, that's key. Usually people, they have kids, there's no thought going into there. They don't teach their kids, what to do. If you educate people, like say a simple analogy, like if you have a refrigerator in your house and it only can support like 10 people for a month, and then if you have 12 people in it, you're going to cause a problem. So the best thing to do is to let the people know inside, like, you know what, we have to live within our means.
Yeah.
So the education is letting people know they have to live inside their means first, or everything that we have is not going to last. So if you have a bunch of people, like everyone knows, like, okay, when you have a certain amount of food, if we exceed that, we're going to be in trouble. If you can teach the whole population that, then they can come to some sort of balance on their own just by having that education and knowledge. If we run out,
Right.
we're screwed. So you take that, and you can break that off.
So it's the
and go
same
into
principle of the entire.
Yeah, so it really comes down to education and the proper education and how we break it down to another know the importance of not exceeding that.
And the systems theory. Excuse me.
No, go ahead, what is your point?
Well, it's just the resource-based economy would be it's a systems theory thing. So the population would be taken into consideration, considering the resources, the production, the distribution. It's all a big system, and you just take the information and calculate exactly how it's all going to be done for how many people, really.
And it's also, you change your values too. Like, you might think the way you think now is how they will think in the future, and it's pretty much, it's going to change too.
Right.
You're not going to have the same value system that you have now. So you might some people say, why do I really want to have children? They just do it because what
Everybody
monkey see,
else.
monkey do, and they don't really, because the neighbors do it, or everybody else is doing it, so I must do it, and it's not really the value system. After a while, you think what you're living for. What are you really living for on this earth? And you think about that, you might want to be a research scientist and dedicate your life to that, or something else. There's other options. You don't have to just be a mommy and a daddy. You could do other things in your life, so you might have other choices.
I've been following the Venus Project actually for quite some years now. And a few years back, I noticed that on Jacques Fresco's website, the Venus Project itself, that he actually put up his research center in Venus, Florida for sale, for monetary profit, or for monetary purposes. So, how does that apply to people who are researching it from the outside? They say you're preaching this resource-based economy, yet one of the main founders of it is saying, well, I want money for something that I've already done.
Well, he's already, he's at the stage in his life, he doesn't really need that whole
I
area.
understand, he's gonna give it
And the
away.
thing is, we still live in a monetary system too.
But he's gonna give it away. The point
What do
is,
you
he could
mean?
start smaller, right? So why didn't he?
Well, he bought that thing
I can't answer on behalf of Jacques Fresco because I'm not him. But I know for a fact that, tonight I wasn't able to throw up money myself to put an ad in the Target because I'm a college student. Does that answer your question?
There is, what you're bringing up is a certain type of hypocrisy, is what you're referring to, where you've got these ideals of a non-monetary, and then you're taking in money.
He charges us $5 for a movie
Yeah,
that's
you're
gonna be free in 1
charging
month
money to
on
do
the
it.
internet.
Okay, all right. We're in this box in this case.
Are you going to work
It's a
tomorrow?
voluntary experience.
I mean,
And we're working to get out of it, but we're still in it. We've got to work.
You could get the movie for free online.
You can get it for free, yeah.
You know, after a certain point, you can just download it online for free.
So why was there a charge if we can get it for free in a month?
Well, because it takes money to make the movie.